I like to think that viewers of this channel would be aware of the TGIF comedy programming block over on ABC. Really huge in my childhood in the 90s. Family sitcoms followed by 2020. Yeah, that's a hard shift, isn't it? Well, sadly, Hulu is losing pretty much every show associated with TGIF, and they actually got pulled today. Really a consequence of Disney buying ABC and wanting to turn TGIF more teenager, so we had to get rid of all the shows that involved adults. The first anchor of TGIF was the first sitcom that I actually liked, Perfectr Strangers, and one that I had the fuzziest memory on. So I took it upon myself to watch as much Perfectr Strangers as possible so I can make this video. This is the story of Balki and Larry, Perfectr Strangers.
Vaughan Jog Vlog.
Now, I can't say too much about looking like a perfect stranger, but if you want to look younger to the point that people even think you're a kid on YouTube, check out Caldera Lab. They send me the coolest stuff all the time to talk about, and they have a promo code for me to share with you guys. Fry15 at calderalab.com saves you 15% on the finest skincare this side of Mypos. Here I am using the Deep Mask, their latest in skincare, and guys can use it too. Remember, that's calderalab.com and use the promo code FRY15, save 15%. So you may have seen Bronson Pinchot as Tom Cruise's best buddy in Risky Business, but he got a lot of attention for playing Serge, this odd art dealer in Beverly Hills Cop. And at that point, people are like, what can we do with this guy? This odd, misplaced accent, what can be done? Well, how about Perfectr Strangers? You bring him in as some kind of nondescript immigrant learning and adjusting about America. Originally, there was an unaired pilot in which he was paired with Louis Anderson, but it was determined that there wasn't chemistry between the two. When the show comes to series, Mark Linn-Baker plays the role of Larry, Bronson Pinchot plays Balki. Larry Appleton is a reasonable guy. He's an American, just moved to Chicago, which happens to also be in America, has a lot of brothers and a sister, and he's out on his own for the first time. And he gets a knock on the door, and it's his very distant cousin, Balki Bartokomous, from Mypos, a sort of Greek island. Larry, being a nice guy, agrees to let him stay, and you get this pleasant fish out of water with suspenders and vests and shorts, clashing heads with this very straight-laced up type of guy. It's quite apparent that this is the odd couple, but it's really quite enjoyable, and I never really saw most of these earlier episodes in '86. I don't remember the original intro for this show that was used for 2 seasons. And I'll tell you what, it was interesting back then. I think that these earlier episodes might actually be better than the ones I liked as a small child. They work in a second store under Mr. Twinkasetti, who also happens to own their apartment above. Oh, and they have a cute neighbor, Susan, played by, is it Lise Cutter? She wasn't in a whole lot of things after this, or at least not in which she kept her clothes on, but geez. Wow, what a body. After 6 episodes, the show is picked up for a full season, and in that second season, we get to meet Jennifer and Marianne. That's Melanie Wilson, Rebecca Arthur, respectively. The boys wanted to go to a health club and get in shape. They meet these 2 gals, and over the course of that season, they become recurring characters, and poor Susan is pushed deep into the background. Season 3, we have dropped the Twinkasetti second store altogether. Now Larry is at the Chicago Chronicle newspaper. And of course, Larry's gonna have Balki work there too so that we can minimize our use of sets. Some new characters show up. One of them noteworthy. Harriet Winslow is an elevator operator. Now, if you're watching this, you probably know damn well who Harriet Winslow is. See, Family Matters was worked as a spin-off, giving sassy elevator operator Harriet her own show. Well, except it got taken over by Urkel, but that's another story. Skipping forward a bit to season 7, Larry and Jennifer marry in a jail. They then move from their apartment to a house. Of course, Balki and Marianne join them, and by the end of Season 7, Balki and Marianne get married. Season 8 picks up just a few months after Season 7 aired. It was actually shot in 1992, but aired in the summer of 93. Immediately, Larry and Jennifer are having a baby. Balki and Marianne return from their honeymoon to say that Marianne is also pregnant. The season feels very confined. It's like Larry and Balki no longer have jobs. Just about everything takes place at their house. It's a lockdown. Before it was cool. And the series finale is actually a two-parter in which Marianne and Jennifer have their babies, seemingly induced by a hot air balloon ride. Now, there were some things that I had to take note about. Early seasons, you had wittier comedy. There were catchphrases, some variation on, of course not, don't be ridiculous, and don't you ever do that again. Now we do the dance of joy. There was also this act of trying to convince Balki to do something by having him stare off into the distance and imagining a grim future. And sure, these elements stayed throughout the course of the show, but in later seasons it became much more slapstick. Larry becomes a malevolent, compulsive liar. Balki's voice changes, and he doesn't seem like a hopeful, naive immigrant so much as a playboy, constantly cracking jokes at Larry's height or lack thereof.
I am Balki Bartokomous. Philo, my fifth cousin 3 times removed, is a step-uncle to your father and my mother's.
Would you mind choking me down there? Because you see, any second, the couch is going to come through the ceiling right above our heads.
The comedy is way more physical, and it usually devolves into choking each other. In far-fetched scenarios that aren't fleshed out, like now they have to deal with a ghost. Oh, and that hot air balloon from the finale doesn't seem to actually have hot air. To be perfectly honest with you, I was largely disappointed with my viewing of Perfect Strangers, and maybe that's why this show isn't super highly regarded right now. People don't look back at it with nostalgia. I really think that Bronson Pinchot had comedic genius here, and there was great chemistry with Linn-Baker. Balki remains one of my favorite sitcom characters, even though in these late episodes, he's just obnoxious. The show was nominated for 3 Primetime Emmys, and never won, but it is shot on film throughout the whole series, so watching it on a streaming service, it's probably moving to HBO Max because of what isn't, and well, it was a Warner Brothers production. You're gonna find that it looks pretty clean, especially compared to shows that were shot on video. Come on, because they were shot at 480i back in the day. You ain't gonna want to watch that on your OLED. Now, since the Miller Boyett productions such as Full House, Family Matters, and Step by Step really dominated TGIF, you do see some cross-modulation here. I already mentioned Family Matters, but did you know that in Season 6, Bronson Pinchot essentially replaces Sasha Mitchell's Cody on Step by Step? Yeah, Bronson is now some odd foreign hairdresser for only 1 season. Oh, also Melanie Wilson. Yeah, Larry's girlfriend, then wife, baby mama, I guess wife with kid. She shows up in Step by Step's What's Wrong with This Picture episode as an artist, and the series finale. I guess it pays to have married the boss. If you're looking for a throwback 80s, 90s style sitcom with a rousing song for the intro sequence, and episodes you can largely watch out of order, humor you can probably even turn your brain off from, that isn't gonna look bad on an HD TV, you might want to give Perfect Strangers a go, but maybe that's the nostalgia in me. What do you guys think? Do you have nostalgia for Perfect Strangers? Have you looked at it recently? Did it live up to the way you recall? Let me know in the comments below. Catch you next time.
You just watched a video from my son. He's about 40 and lives in my basement, ladies. So subscriber and notify the bell for ringing.
Okay, I said what you wanted me to say. Now do the goddamn dishes.